Well, I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today. Rather than riding bikes, I am stuck talking about them in Maidstone studios for the next month for ITV, covering the Tour de France. And this is my attempt to segue back into the topic at hand. No matter what type of bike riding you're doing, we should be able to do it in safety, because so much depends on us feeling able to do that. Safety and healthy transport pretty much sums up our mission, and in fact it's become even clearer that we actually have no choice. Carbon reduction and clean air commitment mean it's top of our agenda. The Mayor has made delivering an integrated London-style transport system his top priority, and when asked if I'd take on an expanded role as Transport Commissioner, I was foolish enough to say yes. And it's the first role of its kind in the country. I very much hope it won't be the last. In reality, my new role is as similar to my previous one in cycling and walking. It now just pretty much involves more vehicles. The 4 years I've spent focusing on active travel gave me great insight into how the system works, the interface between politics and operations, as well as a belief that Greater Manchester can, if it chooses, really lead the way on this journey and show how a viable and attractive alternative to driving can be put in place at the necessary pace. Active travel is a vital piece of the solution, but it'll only work if it's supported by an affordable and integrated public transport network. Like every city in the UK, Greater Manchester must meet its clean air and carbon reduction commitments. And after just a few weeks in the job, it is abundantly clear that we can't deliver it without a fundamental shift in how we travel. In his manifesto, the Mayor commandeered our active travel network name, the B network, to use for the whole transport network. Thanks very much for that, Andy. But what exactly is it? I mean, franchising the buses, painting them yellow and integrating the ticketing are all essential ingredients, but in and of themselves they don't make a public transport network that I would want to use. And that's a crucial point. To be successful and sustainable, both ecologically and financially, it has to be something that you and I would actually choose to use over driving. And it has to be easy, as reliable, as affordable, as quick, as convenient, as safe as driving. Because if it isn't, why would I get out of the car? And if you and I don't get out of the car, then, well, we may as well cut to the chase, save a ton of time and effort and spend the money elsewhere. My instinct, and what I'm proposing to Greater Manchester leaders in my engagement sessions with them, is that whatever we build or whatever services that we provide, they must meet a test to ensure that this is the outcome. I choose to use this service. We actually already have it. It's the same one we've used for active travel for over 4 years, because it's the same people we're seeking to attract, people currently making short journeys in cars. It must be usable and want to be used by a competent 12-year-old or a parent with a double buggy. Satisfying this proxy audience means it'll also meet the needs of the young, the old, people carrying shopping, those are of lesser mobility, whether in getting on a bus, using a station or walking to school. It applies if we want it to work. So that standard is now in use, and it's driving delivery of the largest active travel investment outside of the capital. Over £200 million is being spent across the city region on over 100 schemes in each of the 10 districts. And by the end of the year, we should have completed well over 100 kilometres of the B network routes. It's a pretty exciting time. The design standards are also driving innovation. It's not easy when regulations are tightly controlled by government, but our new Cyclops junctions fall within them. We've now completed the first 2 of these, with about 30 more, I think, in the pipeline, fully protected for people walking and on bikes in any direction. The new Sparrow crossing, a signalised parallel crossing, was authorised by the Department for Transport, with the first of those now completed by Stockport Council. Many of you will know we are also working on squeezing the most out of zebra crossings. Now, I'm going to double back to that in a little while. Greater Manchester is also the first city region to go down the bus franchising route using government's legislation. Now, being the first obviously comes with inherent risks, but it's already proving extremely popular with the public. Increasing bus use is a healthy activity. It can take people out of cars, it can help clean up the air, they can run on cleaner energy, and if done properly, they'll work well with active travel options. For it to be successful though and sustainable, we must make catching the bus as attractive as driving or taking the tram. Now, the experience of delivering Metrolink, the largest light rail system in the UK with the highest customer satisfaction rating, and it runs on clean energy, is a successful example of the type of centralised delivery that will be needed for bus and active travel in the future to meet the pace and scale of delivery that's required. And also to update you on it's had a long gestation period, the Greater Manchester Bike Hire Scheme. It is at last, it's been announced that Beryl bikes are going to be our preferred supplier, with the Firks bikes scheduled to be on the ground in November. Phase 1 will be a core scheme of 1,500 bikes in the regional centre, with 20% of the fleet being electric from the start. That will give about 200,000 people who live within the scheme area easy access to affordable and maintained bikes. It will eventually spread across Greater Manchester, with ticketing integrated with the rest of the public transport network. It's pretty exciting. However, all of the investment is at risk if we don't reduce road danger. It's an area that I have, frankly, failed to progress in the last 4 years. The main reason is because it's not a single activity, but a collection of strategies. It's never had a clear owner or a home. It's not just policing, it's not just transport, it's a holistic approach that is required. And without it, the commitment on carbon reduction and healthier living will fail, because we're going to stay in the car. Incredibly, there are more than 27,000 people killed or seriously injured on the roads. There were in 2019, and we get used to that. It doesn't attract much attention, but just imagine the impact of that in any other industry or type of transport. Crudely, it has an economic impact as well. In Greater Manchester, the total cost of all road collisions is £800 million every year. Road deaths and injuries are not an inevitable part of using our roads. They are an unacceptable systems failure. The UK has one of the worst rates of cycling fatalities in Europe, and only middle ranking for walking. People walking or cycling are 3 times more likely per kilometre travelled to be involved in a fatal collision than when driving. Now, the disparity is even greater if you live in a lower income area, and that's not right. Without improving safety, transport will remain less accessible and less equal. It's little wonder really that the equivalent poorest households in Denmark, for example, take 20% more trips or leave the house 20% more than their British equivalent. If you can't afford a car, you can still ride a bike. But change is possible. The UK halved fatal collisions between 2000 and 2010. So despite the stalling in the last decade, we have shown that it is doable. Cuts to road safety grants, removal of the ability to retain fixed penalty fines, and the ending of national road safety targets all are contributing factors. Even with these constraints, it's possible to do better. In London, the number of people killed or seriously injured on the roads has reduced by 37% through a coherent action plan and targeted activity. In Greater Manchester, the Mayor has made an actual commitment to publish a road danger reduction plan, and that's going to help with existing activity, set with what resources are required, and bring all the key players together to report on progress. Now, our investment in the B network protected junctions and routes, school streets, low traffic neighbourhoods, and using new design standards to eliminate critical collision risks will all support reduction in road danger, as will safe vehicles that must be delivered via bus reform and taxi licensing, the construction logistics standards adopted by Transport for Greater Manchester and the councils here. We're also investing in 150 speed safety cameras, upgrades located on the B network route. They are the physical and legislative things that we're doing. But after my initial round of stakeholder meetings in this new role, it's clear that we need a visible police presence again on the network, not just for transport, but also to support wider policing matters. Of course, the best way to reduce incidents is to design out the risk in the first place. Now, I've already mentioned the Cyclops and Sparrow crossings that are new in Greater Manchester, but the third type is the one I think I'm most proud of, the humble zebra. Walking is a top priority, top of our priority list, and we need more trips to come from walking than any other mode. Low traffic neighbourhoods, school streets, crossing points all benefit walking the most. But amazingly, there is no way of giving priority to people to cross a side road without expensive interventions. There are hundreds of collisions at minor road sites involving pedestrians every year in the region. The unintended consequences of that are absolutely huge. It's the difference between letting your kids walk to school, well, go on them, but make sure you wait till the cars stop, and no, it's too dangerous, I'll run you there in the car. There are 250 million journeys a year in Greater Manchester of less than 1 kilometre in a car, and many of those are the school run. So we wanted to give parents and others such as the elderly and the frail that confidence to be able to cross the road in safety and comfort. Our investigation into side road zebras used across the world but not allowed in the UK is now concluding. It's been a little bit longer because of COVID, and the results are, as expected, extremely positive. Zebras are universally understood. Even without Belisha beacons, they are in every supermarket, car park, even in hospital car parks, and all road users, including disabled users, instantly know how to use them. So we're going to share those results with government, and I'd also like to seek your support to back them. Evidence. If further confidence is needed, more evidence is needed, after what we've seen so far, we would be happy to do a mass trial in Greater Manchester to gather even more data. It's been a clear example of how local government cannot make this kind of change alone. It requires regulatory support and investment. Levelling up is a real issue that needs to be tackled if we are to meet the nation's climate goals. Not handouts, but the means to do the job and to be able to invest in essential sustainable solutions. Now, walking or riding is twice as safe in London as it is in Manchester. This is partly due to density of people, but it's also infrastructure and the means to enforce safe road use. There are 2,300 police officers at the Met for road safe surface transport, and in Greater Manchester there are 150 on a road network of the same length. Now, like everywhere outside of London, we also need the police to enforce moving traffic offences as opposed to just using CCTV to do this. I think the efficiency difference between doing it that way and with people is absolutely stark. An Act of Parliament prevents pavement parking across London, but elsewhere the only way to prevent it is through traffic orders and plenty of signs. Hence, it's become a free-for-all, limiting access for the disabled and elderly. This is on top of the fact that public transport fares are often more than double in Greater Manchester than those that are paid in London. And as Andy Burnham has been saying, levelling up is when a bus in Harbury costs the same as it does in Hackney. It's not all doom and gloom and an unfairness. Having said all of that, after 2 decades of working in this field, I am more confident than ever that we're making massive progress at a national level. For the first time, there is a coherent and credible long-term plan emerging for bus and active travel. Now, Gear Change and Bus Back Better seek to tackle real issues, the real issues that prevent people from leaving the car at home. Standards are finally being linked to funding, and it's been too easy for bus and active travel schemes to give up at difficult times, but now it has to be all or nothing, continuous protected network that people can rely on. Active Travel England is in development to help drive standards, but I also hope that they will support local authorities to establish and develop plans too, ensuring that public money is well spent. Even the government's acceleration of e-scooters is a sign of willingness to take a risk and embrace new technology. The jury's still out, well, it certainly is for me. Are they healthy? Not so sure. But if they give people an option to not drive, they're welcome to use our bike lanes. It's another reason to use our street space in a more sustainable way. It's clear that in the next few years, ambition will be rewarded, and doing the right thing in the medium and long term will be given preference. That is the message that I have been conveying to Greater Manchester leaders as I develop my report for them on taking forward the MERS vision for the B network. An integrated, affordable, reliable, sustainable public transport and active travel network that people choose to use. It will be healthy and safe, because that's what it has to be if it's going to be a success. Investing in public transport is for the good of us all, and it will quite literally save lives. Thank you.